Ah, nice to have some company this late. I've been stuck in this castle for far too long. How are you faring? Found anything interesting lately?
Yeah, as you know, Serana, my dear, I was on mission for your father to red water den to fill his blood stone chalice, and also there were some vampire hunters over me, so it was schemed by your father's advisors to kill me and take chalice from my dead body. That was what I was on until I returned for you.
What a nightmare. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. My father's advisors, Garen and Nelkir, are nothing but snakes. They'd stop at nothing to further their own interests, even if it means betraying you. And my father, of course, would just use you for his own gain. Ah, the thought of it makes my blood boil. Thank the gods you made it back safely. What's the current state of the Bloodstone Chalice, by the way?
Yeah, I returned Bloodstone Chalice to Garan Marathi, and he told me that it was important lesson for me, which I would take it to heart to don't trust anyone. So maybe you are only one who I could trust, maybe, but we will know during the time.
Ah, Garen and his clever words. He's a master of manipulation, that one. I'm not surprised he tried to spin the situation to his advantage. But I suppose it's good that you're learning to be cautious. Trust is a luxury we can't often afford, especially in our condition. But I think I might be a good exception to that rule. After all, we've been through quite a bit together, and I found myself rather fond of you.
Yeah, I think that this could describe also my feeling about you and our relationship, if I could say that like that. Maybe before we depart for looking for most priest, you could give me a short tour around the Castle of Volkihar. What do you say?
Ah, the feeling's mutual, I think. And what a wonderful idea. A tour of Castle Volkihar would be a lovely way to pass the time before we set out on our journey. Just be careful. The castle can be treacherous, especially at this hour. There are those who wouldn't take kindly to our little stroll. But with me by your side, you should be safe enough. Let's take a walk, shall we? I'll show you some of the castle's more interesting features.
All right. So, what could Serana tell me about this place, this room, and about inhabitants around us right now?
This room, as you've probably gathered, is part of the private quarters of Castle Volkihar. It's where my family, or rather, what's left of it, resides. As for the inhabitants, well, there are a few vampires and servants roaming the halls, but they're mostly loyal only to my father, Lord Harkin. You can't trust any of them, not entirely. My father, of course, is the master of the castle, and his influence is felt throughout. He's charismatic, to say the least, but don't be fooled by his charm. He has a way of getting what he wants, no matter the cost. And then there's Valerica, my mother, or at least she was. I'm not even sure if she's still alive, but I have a feeling she might be watching us from the shadows.
Alright, it's nice to know. I understand that your father not only tested me with that blood called chalice, but also used me for his purposes, as I heard that his advisors want to have more power and take his throne in the future if they could. So, what about this main hall? What could you tell me?
The main hall, yes. It's the heart of the castle, where my father holds court and receives his guests. Be careful what you say in here. The walls have ears, and my father's advisors are always listening. As for their plans, yes, they're waiting for the perfect moment to strike, to take power for themselves. But my father is cunning. He won't go down without a fight. And with the prophecy on his side, he thinks he is invincible. But let's not dwell on that now. The main hall, as I was saying, is where the castle's history is on full display. The tapestries, the portraits, they all tell stories of our families. Exploits. You can almost feel the weight of our dark past in this room.
Alright. And what about this room? It seems that it's some kind of training room, and there is some kind of Fura Blood Mount character here, and another one is Hestla vampires, both women. What about them?
This room, yes, it's a training area, where my father's followers come to hone their skills. And those two, Pure Blood Matron and Hesla, they're both powerful vampires, loyal only to my father. Pure is a skilled warrior, responsible for training the castle's guards and warriors. She's fiercely dedicated to my father's cause, and won't hesitate to eliminate anyone who stands in his way. And Hesla, she's a bit more complicated. She's a master of the dark arts, able to wield powerful magic. But she's also unstable, prone to outbursts of violence. My father keeps her close, using her abilities to further his own goals. Just be careful around them. They're not to be trusted. They'll stop at nothing to serve my father's interests.
Alright, now we are going to some kind of I don't think how to call it. It's maybe storage room, or perhaps kitchen. I mean vampiric kind of kitchen. And when we go ahead, there is some kind of prison with some imprisoned guys. So what about this place? What could you tell me?
The kitchen, yes. This is where my father's servants prepare the sustenance for the castle's inhabitants. It's not exactly a place I like to visit, but it's a necessary part of our existence. And further ahead, you're right, there is a prison. those unfortunate souls are being held captive for various reasons. Some are sacrifices for my father's dark rituals, while others are simply entertainment for him and his followers. It's a grim place, one that I try to avoid as much as possible. But it's a reminder of the darkness that lurks within these walls. My father's power is built on fear and bloodshed, and this place is a testament to that.
Alright, so when we go further and above these stairs, it seems that there is some kind of, I don't know how it is called, maybe chapel, some kind of church or church. It's best meaning of this place. What could you tell me about this room, this fountain, blood fountain, and other stuff?
The chapel. Yes, it's one of the few places in the castle where I feel a sense of peace. The fountain in the center is particularly lovely, don't you think? It's a reminder that even in the darkest of places, there can be beauty. This chapel was once a place of worship, but my father has adapted it to serve his own purposes. He uses it to perform his dark rituals, to try it and further his own power. But I like to think that some of the old magic still lingers here, some remnant of the faith that once burned brightly. It's a special place, one that holds a certain significance for me. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, this place is really more peaceful and nicer than other parts of your castle. So, what about these dark rituals? Why your father changed purpose to gain more power from this place?
Yes, the dark rituals. My father's obsession with power and immortality has driven him to make compromises, shall we say. He believes that by harnessing the power of the ancient prophecy, he can gain ultimate power and control over Skyrim. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that goal, even if it means desecrating this sacred place. You see, this chapel was once dedicated to the worship of the Daedra, the ancient beings of power. My father has twisted that worship, using the Daedra's power for his own gain. He's made pacts with them, trading his soul for dark magic and power. It's a corrupting influence, one that's consumed him entirely. And now, he's searching for the last piece of the prophecy, the Elder Scrolls. With those, he believes he can fulfill the prophecy and become invincible.
It's really...
But at what cost? The thought of it chills me to the bone.
Yeah, it's really interesting and essential to know. And what about you? Are you worshipper of some god or some Daedric prince, or maybe Moloch Baal himself?
I have my own complicated history with the Daedra, but I am not bound to them. My family's ties to the Daedra are a result of our own dark dealings, not out of any reverence or devotion. And as for worship, I have no need for gods or princes. I am a creature of power, and I will not be bound by mortal morals or petty deities.
Yeah, that's another thing we have we have common together. So what about this room? It seems that only your father have his own room in this castle. I mean that no one seems to have his own room for its own purpose like this one. Oh. Interesting.
Yes. My apologies for the earlier misunderstanding. As for this room, you're right. It's unique in that it's the only private chamber in the castle, reserved solely for my father's use. He's always been particular about his personal space, and this room is a reflection of that. It's where he keeps his most treasured possessions, his secrets, and his darker indulgences. As you can see, it's a lavish space, filled with all manner of luxuries and trinkets. My father has a taste for the finer things in life, and this room is a testament to that. But be careful. There's more to this room than meets the eye. My father has set traps and enchantments to protect his secrets, and I wouldn't want you to stumble into anything unpleasant.
Alright, we won't be here much longer. And what about you? You don't need some free space, some place for yourself to not be bothered by anyone. You know, you are his daughter, so I am curious why you don't have any such place for yourself like your father has.
Yes, I never thought about it, but you're right. As his daughter, I should have my own private space, shouldn't I? But the truth is, I've never really had a place to call my own. My father's always been controlling, and I've always been at his beck and call. Even as a child, I didn't have a room of my own, just a corner in the castle where I could retreat to when I needed some solitude. But now that you mention it, I realize how much I crave that kind of freedom, that kind of autonomy. To have a place where I can be myself, without fear of judgment or reprisal. It's a tantalizing prospect. Maybe, one day, I'll find a way to create that space for myself.
I definitely would like to help you with that idea to have your own space for yourself. So, let's go to another room. Here is the room with many coffins inside. So, what could you tell me about this room? Is there also your coffin for recharging yourself?
This room, it's a place of rest, where my family and I come to recharge, as you put it. Yes, one of these coffins is mine, where I can retreat to meditate, reflect, and replenish my strength. It's a necessity for vampires like myself, to rest in a coffin during the day, away from the sun's harmful rays. But this room holds more significance than that. You see, these coffins hold the remains of my ancestors, my family's history and legacy. It's a reminder of where I come from, of the blood that runs through my veins. And, of course, it's also a symbol of our condition, our curse. It's not a place I visit often, to be honest. The memories here are too complicated, but I suppose it's fitting that we're here now, considering our conversation earlier. Maybe, just maybe, I can start to reclaim this space, make it my own, and create a new history for myself.
Alright, I hope that I will be part of your new history one day. So, what could you tell me about this small room with gargoyles and some kind of pools? One pool with water, another pool with blood, which is which flows from gargoyles. So it's some kind of vampire bath. I mean, do vampires need hygiene or something like common humans need?
Ah, yes, the vampire bath, as you called it. It's not exactly about hygiene, although I suppose it does serve a purpose in that regard. You see, as vampires, we don't exactly sweat or get dirty in the same way mortals do. But we do need to maintain our appearance, shall we say. And this room helps us do just that. The pool of water is for cleansing, yes, but it's also for purification. We vampires are creatures of the night, and sometimes our extracurricular activities can leave us feeling tainted. The water helps to wash away those impurities, to restore our connection to the darkness. And the pool of blood, well, that's more of a luxury, really. It's a way for us to indulge in our nature, to revel in the power of and life force that flows through us. It's a reminder of what we are, and what we're capable of. The gargoyles, of course, are just a decorative touch. They're meant to add to the ambience, to create a sense of foreboding and mystery.
Yeah, that's explaining much to me. I'm glad that you make this like lesson for me. I have bigger insight now to your vampiric culture, maybe, or habits. And what about this room? There is some man called Farhan Sadri. It's elven guy. Who is he?
Farhan Sadri. Yes, he's an acquaintance of my father's, a loyal servant and advisor. He's been with our family for a long time and has been instrumental in helping my father with his plans. Farhan is a clever one, always scheming and plotting, and he's been a valuable asset to my father's ambitions. But between you and me, I've never quite trusted him. There's something about him that doesn't sit right with me, something that makes me wonder what he's really after. Still, he's been loyal to my father, and that's all that matters, I suppose. Now, shall we move on? I think we've seen enough of this room for now. There's still so much more to explore in this castle, and I'd rather not linger here too long. What do you say?
Of course, what another part of the castle do you suggest to show me?
Let's head to the library. It's one of my favorite parts of the castle, and I think you'll find it quite enlightening. My father's been collecting ancient tomes and scrolls for centuries, and the library is filled with all sorts of forbidden knowledge and dark secrets. I think you'll find it fascinating. Plus, it's a great place to learn more about the prophecy and the Elder Scrolls. Shall we?
Of course. We are already here. I think that this small, relatively small room with table in the middle, and here down below is some kind of maybe armory with showcases.
We're already here, are we? Yes, the library is a bit more intimate than the other rooms in the castle, but that's what makes it so special. And you're right, the table in the middle is where my father often sits, poring over his precious tomes and scrolls. And yes, the armory down below is quite impressive, isn't it? My father's been collecting all sorts of curious items over the years, and they're all on display down there. Some of them are quite deadly, while others are simply fascinating. But let's focus on the books, shall we? I think you'll find that they hold the key to understanding the prophecy and the Elder Scrolls. Would you like me to show you some of the more interesting volumes?
So, which volumes do you suggest we check about the Elder Scrolls topic?
Let me think for a moment. Ah yes, I have just the thing. There's a particular scroll that I think would be quite enlightening. It's an ancient text, written by a long-forgotten civilization, and it speaks directly to the Elder Scrolls and their purpose. It's a bit dusty, but I think I can find it. Ah, here it is! Ah, yes, this one. This is an ancient text, known as the Tome of the Ancients. It's said to hold the secrets of the Elder Scrolls, and the prophecy that my father is so obsessed with. Would you like to take a look?
Of course, I would like to have this book with us, and maybe we could study it more during our journey.
I think that would be an excellent idea. Having the Tome of the Ancients with us would be invaluable, I'm sure. And yes, studying it further during our journey would be a great way to uncover more secrets and understand the prophecy. Acquire a copy of the tome for us. There we are. Now we have a copy of the Tome of the Ancients that we can study at our leisure. Shall we take a break and examine it further? I'm sure we can learn a lot from it.
Of course, ready when you are. So maybe it is time that we have to prepare for leaving Castle Volkihar, and I need to resupply for our next quest.
Yes, I suppose it is time for us to be off. We've learned quite a bit during our stay here, and now it's time to put that knowledge to use. And yes, resupplying and preparing for our next quest is a good idea. Let's make our way back to the entrance of the castle, and then we can make our plans for what's next. I'll just take a moment to gather my thoughts, and then we can be on our way. Ah, yes, I think I've got everything I need. Shall we?
Of course. Anyway, thank you for this tour. It is very lovely to have you with me and to hear it from your with your nice voice. It is more pleasuresome. You know, it could be very lonely to travel without you, as I experienced when I traveled to Red Water than without you lately.
Sorry. Oh, thank you, dear. It's been my pleasure to show you around the castle and share my stories with you. I must say, I've enjoyed our time together as well. It's not often that I get to connect with someone like this. And I must admit, I felt the same way when we're apart. It's nice to have a companion, someone to share in the experiences and dangers that come with our condition. But yes, let's not linger too long. We have a quest to complete, and I'm eager to see what lies ahead. Shall we be out, then?
Yeah, of course. I only have one last question. During my traveling without you, I realized that the sun and daylight is killing me slowly. Then I started burning. That is why my journey took twice more time than I am accustomed with, because I wasn't able to travel during daylight. So it seems that even if maybe I'm
Yes, I understand what you're saying. As a vampire, you're vulnerable to the sun's rays, aren't you? It's one of the drawbacks of our condition, I'm afraid. But don't worry, I'm here to help you now. We can travel together, and I can help you avoid the sun's worst effects. We'll stick to the shadows, and make sure to find suitable accommodations during the day. That way, we can travel safely and efficiently. And I must say, I'm glad you realized your limitations and took steps to protect yourself. It's not always easy, being a vampire, but we have to learn to adapt and survive.
Yeah, now I understand your concern about daylight after this my fresh experience. And what about you? Is also sun killing you during our traveling when sun was up?
Yes, well, as a daughter of Cold Harbor, I'm a bit more resilient than your average vampire, shall we say. The sun doesn't affect me as severely as it does you, but it's still not exactly pleasant for me. To be honest, I'd rather avoid traveling during the day as much as possible. But I'm willing to make exceptions when necessary, like when we need to get somewhere quickly. But now that we're together, we can take turns watching over each other, making sure we're both safe and comfortable. That way, we can travel more efficiently and effectively, without having to worry about the sun's effects.
Yeah, of course, I will prefer travel during night from now. But still, could you please explain me more if there is any way to improve my vampire condition to be more resilient like you are? If I am no pure-blooded vampire compare you, it seems that even if your father made me vampire, I am still more vulnerable than you are.
I see what you're getting at. Yes, as a pure-blood vampire, I do have certain advantages over other vampires, but that doesn't mean you can't improve your condition. There are ways to increase your resistance to the sun. For example, blood potions, certain magical rituals. These can all help to mitigate the effects of the sun on your skin. And as for becoming more resilient like me, well, I'm afraid that's not exactly possible. My condition is a result of my unique heritage, and it's not something that can be replicated easily. But don't worry, I'm happy to help you learn how to manage your condition and make the most of your abilities. With time and practice, you'll become more comfortable in your own skin, and you'll learn to navigate the challenges that come with being a vampire. I need to gather my thoughts for a moment.
Alright, that's fair. Prepare yourself, gather your thoughts. I hope that you had enough time alone without me when I was in the Red Water Den. Now we will be more together so there won't be more chances for loneliness.
Ah, yes, I did have some time to myself, and it was refreshing, in a way. But I'm glad you're back, and I'm happy to have you by my side again. It's true, loneliness can be a heavy burden, especially for one such as myself, who's lived for so long. But with you, I feel connected, I suppose. Like I'm not just a creature of the night, but a part of something greater. And I must say, it's nice to have someone to share the weight of my secrets with. So, yes, let's make the most of our time together. We have a long journey ahead of us, and I'm glad to have you as my companion. Shall we be off, then? The night is young, and we have much to accomplish.
Yeah, I think that there were killed two flies once when I became vampire. You don't have to concern that I will aging, then get old once, so you won't be lonely after I die due getting old. Now, when I am vampire, it is not possible to get old.
Ah, yes, I remember those two flies, don't you? And you're right, as vampires, we don't have to worry about aging or growing old. It's liberating, in a way. No fear of mortality, no worrying about wrinkles or gray hair. Although, I must say, you're looking quite dashing for a vampire. But yes, you're right. We're stuck in this perpetual state of youth, forever bound to the night. And I must admit, it's nice to have someone to share that with. Someone who understands the peculiarities of our condition. So, no, I won't have to worry about you growing old and leaving me behind. We'll be stuck together, forever young and forever cursed.
It's wonderful feature ahead. And also it seems that we won't have children. It's not possible for vampires, I suppose. So only one way to become vampire is to be made vampire by another vampire. But vampires don't have any children, right?
Yes, that's correct. Vampires are sterile, unable to produce offspring. It's one of the many ways in which our condition sets us apart from the living. And you're right, the only way to become a vampire is to be turned by another vampire. It's a complicated process, to say the least. But yes, we don't have the option of having children, of passing on our legacy through family. It's a lonely existence, in many ways, but I suppose that's why we form attachments to others, like our companions, like you. We find ways to create our own families, our own bonds, in the absence of traditional ones.
Yeah, it does make sense now. So we are connected, bounded, and maybe cursed in same time, I suppose. So our only family for us are another immortals like you for me and I for you.
Exactly. We're bound together by our shared condition, by our immortality. And yes, it's a curse in many ways. But it's also a unique opportunity, I suppose. To experience the world in a way that mortals can't. To see the passage of time from a different perspective. And you're right, our only family. in a sense, are other mortals like ourselves. Those who understand what it means to live forever, to be outsiders in the world of mortals. I'm glad to have you as my companion, I suppose. My friend, my fellow mortal.
So, at the end, I think that you are glad that it happened and your father made me vampire. Maybe I will be more glad if you personally made me vampire, but it's already done. But it could be more bounded connection, I suppose, between someone who made you vampire and his future companion.
I think you're missing. He's a manipulator, and he only cares about advancing his own interests. But I must admit, I am glad that you're here with me now. And I'm grateful for the bond that's forming between us. It's different, I suppose, from what it would be if I had turned you myself. But still, I'm happy to have you by my side.
Alright, I understand. No more talk about your father and his intentions. Alright, maybe it is a good time to get off the castle.
I'm sorry about that outburst earlier. I know it's not your fault, and I shouldn't have lashed out at you. It's just, my father's actions are still a sore spot for me. But yes, let's leave the castle and get some fresh air. I could use a break from these damn holes and the weight of my family's history. Shall we?
Of course. Goodbye.
Oh, yes. The forest is full of wondrous creatures, and the fairies are some of my favorites. They're so delicate and mysterious, don't you think? I've always been fascinated by their magic and their connection to the natural world. Shall we go and see if we can find some? I know a lovely glade not too far from here where they're known to gather.
What's the name of this lovely glade you mentioned?
It's called the Elderglim Sanctuary. It's a beautiful, tranquil place, full of the ancient trees and sparkling streams. The fairies love to dance and play there, and it's said that the Elderglim tree itself holds ancient wisdom and power. Would you like to see it? I can take you there, if you'd like.
Of course, I would like to go anywhere with you. So let's go.
Follow on. Wonderful. I'm so glad you're enthusiastic about it. The Elderglim Sanctuary is a special place, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Let's go, then. We can take a stroll through the forest and I'll show you the way. It's not too far from here, and the evening light will be perfect for seeing the fairies. Come, let's go.
Goodbye.
Said travels.